Hello, this is 2-3, finding surface area of three-dimensional shapes. Alright, so before we get started, let's take a look at the formulas that we're going to use today. Of a cube, it's 6 times the length squared. Of a rectangular prism, it's 2 times the base times the height, plus 2 times the base times the width, plus 2 times the height times the width. For a cylinder, this is equal to 2 times pi times r times r plus h. For a sphere, this is 4 times pi times r squared. So I highly recommend you write these formulas down. And we'll talk about why this is in a moment as well. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the cube. Cube, again, is a prism where all sides are squares. So this side is a square, this top side is a square, this side's a square. If you imagine these squigglies to be gone, oops. This back side is a square, this side's also a square, and this side's also a square. So in other words, if you know the length of this side, then all of these sides, this side, 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 and that side, all sides are L. Alright, so we know that the formula for finding the surface area is 6 times the length squared. So for example, if we had a cube, pretend this is a cube, and this side was, say, 5. What would the surface area be? Well, this is 5, which means we have this side. The same thing applies to this back side over here. So this is 25. Let's see. Oh, I'm destroying the cube. So this back side is also 25. This side's 25. This side's 25. The top is 25. The bottom is 25. In other words, there are 6 sides on a cube, and they're all 25 units cubed. Squared. My bad. So 6 times L is 5 squared. 6 times 25, because 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. And this is 150 units squared. Okay, we won't get into much because it'll take a long time. There's only 2 questions about cubes in the homework. The next thing we're going to talk about is the rectangular prism. The rectangular prism is just this elongated cube. So, again, this is the base. Say we'll give it 3. This is the width, 2. We'll say that the height is 1. Okay, this is not the scale, by the way. So what is the formula for finding the surface area of a rectangular prism? It's 2 times the base times the height, plus 2 times the base times the width, plus 2 times the height times the width. Why is this? Well, we need to find this part, which is the height times the base times height. And there's a backside to this too. So there are two base times height that we need to calculate. Now about the base times the width. Oh, wait, no, that's not this side. This side here, and this top side is the base times the width. And there are two faces there like that, so we need to multiply that by 2. Now about the height times the width. The height times the width gives us this. And again, there are 2, which is why we need to multiply it by 2. Alright, so now let's plug these numbers into the equation. 2 times the base is 3, times the height, which is 1, plus 2 times the base is 3, times the width, which is 2, plus 2 times the height, which is 1, times the width, which is 2. Let's erase this, we have a bit more room. 2 times 3 times 1, that's 6. 2 times 3 times 2, that's 12. 2 times 1 times 2, that is 4. And that gives us 22 units squared. Alright, great. We won't do another practice of that. Now we're going to go to the cylinder. Okay. So let's first talk about why it's actually 2 pi r times r plus h. So to find the surface area, we need to look at this. What is that? It's a circle. That's 2 pi. Oh, actually, no. That's circumference, isn't it? That's pi r squared. But guess what? We have 2. So that becomes 2 pi r squared. Now, what is this part right here? Well, imagine it was unrolled. Say it's like the outside of like a soda can. Say you unrolled that and it became a rectangle, right? It's a rectangle. You unrolled it. What would this side be? Well, it'd be the circumference of the circle, right? Say you took it from here, you move that there, and it becomes that, right? Well, this would be the circumference. Let's get rid of these. What would this side be? Well, it's this side. This is called the height, how tall it is. That's the height. This is the radius. So that's how we get this. So 2 pi r squared plus circumference, which is 2 times pi times r, right? 2r is diameter times pi. We just sort of rearranged it, times the height. All right, so now what we can do is factor out. So we find a 2 and a pi and an r in both. What's left is an r plus h. So this becomes this. You don't need to know how this happens. All you need to know is that this is the formula. And all you need to do is plug in the numbers, and as long as you do it right, you should get the correct answer. All right. So say you're given a cylinder. And the radius is, we'll say 3. And the height is 4. Well, given that the formula is, again, 2 pi r times r plus h, what is the surface area? Well, all we need to do is plug in the numbers. So 3 equals r, d equals 4. So 2 times pi times r, which is 3, times r, which is 3, plus d, which is 4. So that's 2 times pi times 3 times 7. What is this? Well, we can do 2 times 3 first. That's 6 times 7 times pi, which is 42 pi units squared. Again, on the homework, you'll be asked to find the surface area in terms of pi. So you don't need a calculator for this, unless you don't know what 6 times 7 is. I hope you do. You should know all of your times tables, up to 9, maybe up to 12. Yeah, and in this case, 6 times 7 you should know. Again, that's 42 pi units squared. We won't do another example because it's sort of getting long. Now we're going to do a sphere. Sphere, there isn't really a clear example unless you get really into calculus of why the surface area is what it is. But for this lesson, yeah, really, you're just here to substitute numbers into a formula. You'll have all the formulas in your text, in your notebook, hopefully, if you wrote all of them down. So it's all about plugging the numbers in and knowing what to do with them. So again, the formula of finding the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So a sphere is, again, from if you've watched and done the homework questions, is a perfect ball. I'm not drawing this very well. Pretend it's a perfect ball. This is one side of it, another side, something like that. Right? That is a very good representation. There. I guess that helps a little bit. So it's a perfect ball. At the center of the ball, and this is three-dimensional, by the way, to any point on the edge is called the radius. So imagine that side's also part of the ball. This is the radius. Again, this is pointing outwards, away from you, so technically these are the same, but they don't look the same. But imagine this in 3D. Okay, so say we're given a sphere. So diameter equal to 8. What is the surface area? Well, first of all, we can't actually do anything with it right now because we know the diameter, not the radius. So to find the radius, all we need to do is divide 8 by 2. 4. Half of 8 is 4, which means that the radius is 4 units. So now we can plug it into our equation, into our formula, 4 pi r squared, which becomes 4 times pi times the radius, which is 4 squared, which is 4 times pi times 16. Oh, no longer squared. Now, what's 4 times 16? That's 64, and then times the pi, right? So the surface area is 64 pi units squared. Again, imagine this is not a circle, this is a sphere. I can't really draw a sphere. 1, because it's a 2D screen. 2, because I can't really draw it very well. But that's how you would find the surface area of a sphere. There are only 8 questions on today's homework because it is a lot harder and it'll take a lot more time than normal homework assignments. So, again, this only has 8 questions. Alright, that's all I have for you today. The homework is due on Friday, and there's going to be a test on Friday about this.